Before we begin, a quick note. The opinions and analysis shared on Truth Seekers are our own interpretations of published research and should not be used as medical, financial, or professional advice. Always consult qualified professionals for decisions affecting your health or well-being.
And with that out of the way, welcome to Truth Seekers. I'm Bill Morrison.
And I'm Alex Barrett. Today is December 5th, 2025, and we're talking about nature's Ozempic, the Berberine weight loss myth.
Let's get to the truth.
Right, so I've been seeing this everywhere. Berberine is nature's Ozempic. 127 million views on TikTok. Everyone's saying you can skip the expensive prescription and just take this supplement instead.
127 million. That's wow.
I know, and it sounds so reasonable, doesn't it? There are actual studies on berberine. It's not like someone just made this up out of thin air.
Right, exactly. It's got that veneer of science behind it, and people are genuinely frustrated with how expensive weight loss medications are.
Which I completely understand. So, when someone says there's a natural alternative that works just as well, of course that's appealing. And berberine's been used in traditional medicine for ages, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not some sketchy new thing. So the narrative becomes ancient wisdom meets modern science, and Big Pharma doesn't want you to know about it.
Brilliant marketing strategy, honestly. Though I have to say, if this actually worked as well as Ozempic, wouldn't doctors be prescribing it? Like, wouldn't it be everywhere in the medical system already?
You'd think. Okay, so let's look at what the actual research shows. The study everyone points to is from 2008, published in the journal Metabolism. It's become the landmark berberine trial.
What did they actually test?
They ran two parallel trials. Study A compared berberine directly to metformin. That's a diabetes drug, not a weight loss drug, which is already interesting. Study B looked at adding berberine to existing diabetes treatment. 36 people in Study A, 48 in Study B.
Hang on, 36 people? 48 people?
Yep,
Those are quite small studies.
very small. This feels like, didn't we talk about something like this before? The NAD plus thing?
Oh, God, yes. Wasn't that the same problem? Tiny studies being marketed as if they were definitive.
Yeah, those NAD plus studies had like 7 to 30 participants. This is a bit bigger, but still nowhere near what you'd need for FDA approval of an actual drug.
Right, okay. So, what did they find in these small studies?
So, berberine lowered HbA1c, that's your blood sugar control marker, from 9.5% down to 7.5%. Metformin went from 9.15% to 7.72%. Basically, comparable effects on glucose control.
But that's about blood sugar, not weight loss.
Exactly. The study was focused entirely on glucose and lipid metabolism. They saw modest improvements in triglycerides and cholesterol. Weight loss wasn't even a primary outcome they were measuring.
Hang on. So, the study that's being used to sell berberine as nature's Ozempic for weight loss wasn't actually studying weight loss.
Not in any meaningful way. And check this out. At the end of the paper, the researchers themselves wrote, "This is a pilot study. The efficacy of berberine needs to be tested in a much larger population."
They literally said we need more research, and the supplement industry just ignored that part.
For 15 years and counting.
Huh.
But let's get to the actual weight loss numbers, because there are more recent meta analyses that compiled data from multiple studies. One from 2020 looked at 32 trials and found an average weight loss of 2.07 kilograms. A more recent one from 2025 looked at 6 trials with 583 people total and found, actually, wait, let me check this. No, 0.37 kilograms. Yeah, basically no significant effect.
So we're talking about what, 2 to 4 kilograms at most in the best case scenario?
At most. Now, let me show you what Ozempic actually does, because this is where the comparison completely falls apart.
Okay,
Ozempic went through the STEP clinical trial program. That's 6 large, randomized, controlled trials
right.
over 2,000 participants each. They ran these for 68 to 104 weeks, so we're talking about a year and a half to 2 years of data.
Hmm.
And the results? Average weight loss of 15 to 16 kilograms. That's 14.9% to 17.4% of body weight. 51 to 64% of participants lost at least 15% of their body weight. With placebo, that was only 5 to 13%.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Berberine, 2 to 4 kilograms, maybe. Ozempic, 15 to 16 kilograms.
That's a 4 to 8 times difference. This isn't even close. It's like saying a bicycle is nature's Ferrari because they both have wheels.
That's quite a stretch, yeah. But I'm guessing the supplement companies would argue they work the same way, just Ozempic is stronger?
That's where it gets even more interesting because they don't work the same way at all. Ozempic is a GLP-1 receptor agonist. It directly activates receptors in your brain that control appetite and in your gut that slow down digestion. It's literally making you less hungry and feel full longer.
And berberine?
Berberine activates something called AMPK, which is a cellular energy sensor. It's this indirect metabolic effect that might improve how your cells process glucose and fat, but it's not doing anything to your appetite control centers.
So they're operating through completely different biological pathways.
Different systems entirely. It's not that one is a weaker version of the other, they're fundamentally different mechanisms. Comparing them is scientifically nonsensical.
Okay, but here's what I'm really wondering. How did this become such a massive claim if the evidence is this weak? Because someone had to look at that 2008 study and decide to market it this way.
This is where the regulatory gap comes in. I think you'll find this part especially frustrating.
Oh, I have a feeling I know where this is going.
So, Ozempic had to go through 5 massive phase 3 clinical trials. We're talking 5,000 plus participants total, years of testing, hundreds of millions of dollars in research costs. The FDA reviews all of that data before approving it, and even after approval, there's ongoing safety monitoring.
And berberine?
0 trials required. It's classified as a dietary supplement, so it can be sold without any FDA approval for efficacy or safety. Supplement companies can point to that 2008 pilot study, the one where the researchers themselves said they needed more research, and start selling it.
This is exactly what drove me mad when I was in journalism. You'd see a headline about some breakthrough, and then you'd read the actual study, and the researchers would be saying, "This is preliminary. We need to replicate this. Don't draw conclusions yet." But the headline writers and the marketers, they're already running with it. It's like the nuance dies between the journal and the public.
Yeah,
And in this case, they've been running with it for 15 years, while the larger validation studies never materialise.
right.
Why didn't they? If berberine actually worked for weight loss, wouldn't someone have funded bigger trials by now?
That's the thing. There's no financial incentive. You can't patent berberine. It's a plant compound that's been around forever. So, no pharmaceutical company is going to spend $100 million on trials when they can't recoup that investment. And supplement companies don't need to spend that money because they can already sell it without FDA approval.
So we're stuck in this weird gap where the preliminary evidence is just good enough to be marketable, but not good enough to actually prove the claim.
And here's another problem: publication bias. When I was doing A B testing, we'd see this all the time. People only want to publish the wins. Most of these berberine studies are small, usually under 100 people, and short term, like 8 to 18 weeks. The studies that showed no effect, they probably didn't get published. Negative results are way less likely to make it into journals.
So we're only seeing the success stories, even if they're modest successes.
Right. And when you compile them all in a meta analysis, the average effect is tiny or non existent. But the individual positive studies are what get cited in marketing materials.
What about the people who say it worked for them? Because there are definitely testimonials out there. Real people saying they lost weight.
A few things could be happening. One, many of these people are also changing their diet and exercise habits when they start taking berberine. The weight loss they're seeing might be 95% lifestyle changes, 5% berberine, if that.
But they attribute it to the supplement because that's the new thing they added.
Exactly. Two, placebo effect and expectancy. If you believe something is going to work, especially something with all this social media hype behind it, you might perceive effects that aren't really there. And three, we only hear from the people who had success. The people who took berberine and lost nothing, they're not making TikTok videos about it.
That's such an important point. The visible testimonials create this illusion of effectiveness because the failures are invisible.
And to be fair, there might be some people for whom berberine does produce weight loss. Maybe they have a specific metabolic profile where it's more effective. But that would explain why the average effect in meta analyses is near zero, even if some individuals respond.
Okay, so I want to make sure we're being intellectually honest here. Is there anything berberine actually does that's legitimate? Because I feel like we should acknowledge that.
I mean, it's not a weight loss drug. That's the point.
Right, but does it do anything? Or is it completely useless?
Well, no. Berberine does improve glucose control. The evidence for that is pretty solid. It does lower fasting glucose and HbA1c in people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. It also has modest effects on lipid profiles, lowering triglycerides and cholesterol a bit.
So, if someone has blood sugar issues and their doctor approves, berberine might be a useful supplement to add alongside other treatments.
Potentially, yeah, but that's not what it's being sold as. It's being sold as nature's Ozempic for weight loss. That's the lie.
Okay, but I think we do need to be clear about this distinction because otherwise we sound like we're saying berberine is completely worthless, and that's not what the evidence shows.
I just, I don't know. The weight loss marketing is so misleading that I'm not sure the glucose control stuff redeems it.
I'm not saying it redeems it, I'm saying we should be accurate. Berberine is a glucose control supplement with minimal incidental weight loss. It's not a weight loss drug, and it's definitely not equivalent to Ozempic, but it does do something legitimate.
Fair enough. You're right. I get annoyed at the marketing and start thinking the whole thing is rubbish, but that's not intellectually honest.
And this matters because when you have obesity and you're looking for treatment, you have actual evidence based options. GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic, intensive lifestyle interventions, even surgery in some cases. But if you're sold on this nature's Ozempic narrative,
You might spend months and money on berberine, lose maybe 2 kilograms, feel disappointed, and delay seeking treatments that actually work. That's not a harmless marketing exaggeration. That's a real cost to people's health.
And their wallets. Berberine supplements aren't necessarily cheap, especially the ones marketing themselves as premium formulations.
Right. And about a third of people who take it experience GI side effects: diarrhea, constipation, flatulence, abdominal pain. So you're potentially paying money to feel uncomfortable for a weight loss effect that's barely measurable.
What should people actually take away from this? Because I imagine there are listeners right now who've bought Berberine or were thinking about it.
If you bought it for blood sugar control and your doctor knows you're taking it, that's probably fine. There is evidence for that use. But if you bought it expecting Ozempic level weight loss, the evidence just doesn't support that. You're looking at maybe 2 to 4 kilograms if you respond well, versus 15 to 16 kilograms with actual GLP-1 drugs.
And if weight loss is your goal, talk to your doctor about treatments that actually have robust evidence behind them. Berberine isn't going to get you there.
The other takeaway is watch for this pattern. When you see nature's version of ask yourself, did this natural substance go through the same level of testing? Does it work through the same mechanism? What does the actual research show versus what the marketing claims?
Because preliminary research gets weaponized. A small pilot study becomes "Scientists Prove" in a headline, which becomes "Nature's Ozempic" in marketing, which becomes 127 million TikTok views.
And by the time you trace it back to the actual study, the researchers are explicitly saying, this is preliminary. We need larger trials. But that part never makes it into the viral posts.
This is one of those where I just wish people would read past the abstract. The answers are right there in the papers if you look.
Or even just look at the numbers: 2 kilograms versus 16 kilograms. That's not a close call. That's not nature's version. That's a completely different league.
And that's what makes this such a perfect example of how health misinformation works. It starts with a grain of truth. Berberine does something metabolically beneficial, and then stretches it into a claim that the evidence absolutely does not support.
All while exploiting a regulatory system that allows supplements to be marketed without the rigorous testing we require for actual medications.
Right. So next time someone tells you about nature's Ozempic, you can tell them it's nature's very modest glucose control supplement that might help you lose a couple of kilograms if you're lucky. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it?
Not great for TikTok, but at least it's accurate.
Right, that's all for today's dive into the data. Just remember, everything we've discussed is our interpretation of published research and shouldn't replace professional medical advice.
Absolutely. If you're dealing with health or mental concerns, talk to your doctor, not just us data nerds on a podcast.
I'm Alex Barrett,
And I'm Bill Morrison
and we'll see you next time.
on Truth Seekers.
Until then, question everything.
But verify with data.